Welcome to Electric Lawn Talk. Each week, the electric lawn care professionals get together to talk about the electric lawn and landscape business and have some fun along the way. Whether you are in the business, thinking of getting started, or just want to hear the tips, tricks, struggles, and victories of the move to electric, you are in the right place. Let's get started.
All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Stephen with EcoMow Lawn and Landscape here in Dallas, Texas. This is Electric Lawn Talk, and I'm joined by my good friends and co-hosts. I've got Jarmar from Houston with Peaceful Lawn. I've got Ronnie and Dan with Electron. I got Jake up in Denver. I got Sean over in Maryland. I got William in Maryland, and I got Sandy in... Where are you from, Sandy?
Tampa. Come on, you had it.
Tampa, I knew that. I'm sorry, man. I dropped the ball on that. Boy, let me just tell you. All right. So, gentlemen, let's dive right in. I got a quick question for you guys. So we've all been at this for a while now, and every one of us got started somewhere. So I got the bright idea about 4 years ago, bought an Ego lawnmower from Home Depot, fell in love with it, and just said, you know what, man, I want to go do this. So the rest is history. And I'm sure we got a few new listeners here that are looking to break into the industry. So I'd love to go around the room here, open the floor for about, a 1 minute interview with each of you. Give us an intro, share how you cut your teeth in the business. Dan with Electron, since you're the veteran here, my friend, I'll start with you.
All right, let's get going. So my name is Daniel Cienfuegos. Full name means 100 fires or 100 flames translation, last name. But pretty much me and Ronnie and I started the business here in 2020, and we've been in business since then. And really, I'm pretty much the back office guy. So you don't see me much in the field, but you'll see me in the back office doing all the back stuff. And a lot of the other stuff we do is I do a lot of the electronics side of the stuff. So if you need electrical work or electrical solar or any kind of thing like that, it's pretty much my expertise. If you want to know anything about sales, that's all Ronnie expertise, and operations of the business, really mostly Ronnie. I'll kick it off to Ronnie now.
All right, guys. Hopefully I sound a little bit clear. Everything's been going great for the last 3 years. The original question, Stefan, was how we got started and how we started, why we chose to go electric. I think that comes from Daniel. He's always been like a tech-savvy guy. So I had no care in the world to go electric. At first, I just wanted to have a business. I just did lawn care, coincidentally, since I was like 14. So when I was turning 20, I was still 19 at the time. Daniel was trying to convince me to team up and, do this electric lawn care business with him. Man, the rest is history. But we can go on for an hour conversation of what the ups and downs of me and Daniel have had. By the way, if no one knows, he's my brother-in-law. He's married to my sister. So if we already get an argument, I just got to talk to my sister a little bit and I always win. But no, yeah, it's been great. I mean, I would love to go further into this conversation, but there's a lot of people here. I just want to say thank you guys for the opportunity to be a part of this group of individuals that are just trying to help each other out and help people that are trying to get into this industry as well.
That's awesome, man. Thanks for sharing. Sean over at Luminary. Let's hear from you, brother.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Yeah, so I kind of meandered my path into this industry. I went to school for a finance degree, came out, I was an accountant at a mutual fund company, worked in an electric company doing a variety of different responsibilities there. Realized it wasn't where I wanted to be. I wanted to do something I was more passionate about. Ended up in the beer industry. I spent about a decade there, and I had a lot of success in the sales side of things. But I was traveling all around the country, and I've got a young family at home, and I was looking for a way to be able to make sure that I was home in my own house every night with everybody, with the kids, and but also being able to do something better for the world as well, better for the environment, better for the community around me. And my wife actually has this pretty funny post she put on Instagram several years ago. It was a picture of me and my young son. He was about 2 at the time, pushing a reel mower in our front yard. And with the caption was, after Sean fired our second lawn company, we had to make some adjustments. So, when I was traveling all around, I had hired several lawn companies, and I just was not happy with the service that we were getting. And so I started doing it myself and really just kind of dove all in on the DIY side of things. I was just using all manual equipment, or, I even had a string trimmer that plugged into the side of the house, wired and dragging that thing around. Started seeing all these improvements in the electric equipment. And I said, man, I think there might be a real opportunity here. This stuff's really, really improving a lot. It can actually get the job done. If we could take this to a commercial level, I think there'd be a lot of people interested in this.
That's awesome, man. How many clients do you guys have right now, Sean? Curious.
We're right around 100 clients. This is our second year in business, my first year going full time with it. I eased my way into it a little bit. I continued my sales job last year and had a couple of guys running a crew for me out there full time. But yeah, this year, just jumping right in. We got a mowing team and a landscaping crew going full time now.
I love it. I love it. Jarmar, down in Houston, my hometown. What you know, man?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, look, my story is pretty simple. Man, I've been mowing with a battery-powered Ego mower forever. I think when they first came out, this is what, I guess 7-8 years ago now. We just bought a house and I forgot, I had a mower and I forgot to winterize it, so to speak. Went to start it, didn't have no gas. I had to go to the gas station. And the choke was all beat up and all. I said, you know what, I'm done with this. I saw this mower. It was expensive as all get out. Like, I was like, what, $400, $500 for a mower?
Yeah.
Anyway, so I bought it and I've been rolling with it. Matter of fact, it's still in my garage to today and it still works. But anyway, me and my wife were sitting outside in the back and we were enjoying our morning coffee. And then our neighbor lawn crew was rolling by. And you could tell that he had the oldest mower ever made. He was just blowing smoke and gas fumes and everything all the way through the fence. And it was like, I could literally taste it in my coffee.
Oh, man.
I was like, this is ridiculous, right? This is stupid. It's super loud. This is ridiculous. And so at the time, we're vegetable gardeners. So at the time, we were helping people build vegetable gardens and stuff like that. And then so my wife looked over at me and said, maybe we can make a business out of this. And I was like, well, I don't know if we can have enough business to, build vegetables full time, but maybe we can see if this battery thing may work. We can make a reoccurring revenue source, and then we can do vegetable gardens and stuff like that as our landscaping. And so we set out 2020 to see if anybody cared about the environment or doing anything electric or being quiet or any of that type of stuff. And then we found out we had quite a bit of demand. So we kind of went into our turtle shell for another year. Last year, the demand kept going. And then this year, we decided to go ahead and brand and hire people and let's see if we can take this thing, see what we can do. And that's our story. That's how we kind of got dragged into it.
I love it, man. So on your Instagram, and I kind of fell in love with your company and with what you were doing a couple years ago, because for a long time, you were posting a lot of photos on your Instagram about vegetable gardening and all that stuff. And I was like, man, this guy,
yeah,
how cool is that?
Yeah.
To see your company evolve to where you are now, that's pretty awesome, man.
Yeah.
I love it. William, let's hear from you, buddy, up in Maryland. Let's hear it.
Hey, Steven. Thanks. Yeah, guys. William Zimmerman here, up in the great state of Maryland. So my story, I'm sure a lot of people relate to. 15-year-old kid cut my neighbor's grass, had a gas mowing business for about 9 years. Grew it from buying a truck before I could drive with a learner's permit. Took me an hour to cut one lawn by myself, and my parents would come back and pick me up. Grew that into a crew of 3 guys working for me. Stayed local. My parents weren't dumb, right? Give me a loan to start the business, knowing that I'd stay out of trouble in high school and college if I kept with it. Had side money when friends and family or when friends of mine, high school and college, didn't. But got my start, enjoyed it, loved it as a kid. Sold the business and went and did something different for about 10 years on the sales side. Earlier this year, my wife and I, similar to your story, Jarmar, we're having a conversation like there's a tidal wave coming and we want to be a part of it. And it's something that the industry is working their way there. Not there yet. There's innovation. We all have our own struggles, but there's enough there to build a profitable business if done properly. So we took the leap and that's what we did. So we started our business at the beginning of this year and it's been great. It's been fun. I'm happy to be back doing it. Happy to not have to deal with the gas, the oil, the fumes, all the other things we have to deal with. We have an electric van too, so we're 100% top to bottom electric, which is cool. And even learning the vehicle side as much as the equipment side from electric has been awesome. So learning and growing, but excited to solve the challenges, not see them as obstacles.
Yeah, and that's super cool because, I think you guys are the only ones amongst all of us right now that are running an electric van. So I look forward to learning about your experience with that. I know we're planning on transitioning over to an e-transit here in the springtime next year. So I'm sure you've kind of figured out what the trials and tribulations and what the runtime is. We've got a lot to learn from you, man.
Yeah.
Sandy over in Tampa, let's hear from you.
Hey, this is Sandy. Last name is De Leon, owner-operator of Electric Turf Pros. So my story started a little different compared to most of you lawn folks, but more similar to Sean's story over at Luminary Lawns. So I actually still have a full-time career in sales. I've been doing it since pretty much I graduated college in 2012. Did some leadership in retail and kind of went back to sales, and pretty successful career currently, which is what I'm doing right now. So my story is a little different, where I actually recently transplanted into the state of Florida, the Tampa Bay area, where I'm actually starting my business back up. But originally I was up in South Carolina in Columbia area, and pretty much had about 20 or 30 accounts. And even then I was more of a part-time situation while I continued my career. My whole ideal was to kind of get that boat closer to the dock before I can jump right in. But now I have the privilege of starting it all over again, and this time making less mistakes than I did the first time around.
It's awesome. Jake, you're up in Denver, man.
Best for last, right?
So tell us about Green Team Denver. What have you guys been up to?
All right. So Green Team Denver kind of came about way back in 2018. Kind of crazy. So I was laying there the night of my 30th birthday, and it was kind of a hell of a day. I think I was doing lawn care part-time for like another company, and I had pulled up to my first house. A guy across the street asked me to move his couch, and so I obliged. And as soon as I walked into his fence, I got bit by his dog. And then I was still hungover from the night before. So after that happened, I went back to my truck and threw up in the street. Oh. So I finished out my day of mowing and everything. And I'm laying in bed that night next to my now wife. And I'm like, what am I doing? You know, I've been wanting to start my own lawn care company for a while. And so laying in bed there, I logged onto the Secretary of State website, bought my trade name, and registered as a company right then and there, Green Team Denver. I had been kind of wondering like how I wanted to do it. I wanted a different kind of fresh take on it. And as many of us, you know, nobody was doing electric at the time back in 2018. And figured it'd be something unique. And then also too, I'm not going to lie, I didn't grow up fixing gas engines and stuff like that. So that whole aspect of running a lawn care company, you're basically a small engine repair guy, you know? And that was pretty intimidating to me. So the idea of electric, little to no maintenance, was very attractive. So I wasn't full-time electric that first year in 2018, but went full electric in 2019. And haven't looked back since. I do actually also have a business partner as of this year. So we're in our, you know, what would it be, third full-time year. And I partnered with a gentleman who had been running a gas lawn care business for the last 13 years. And I do have a dirty little secret. Part of our business is still gas because, so don't shame me, please. You know,
that's all right. We're going to mute that part out.
Okay. Edit it out.
Take it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So on Thursdays, we mow 40 lawns. And we just haven't been able to figure out how to do that with our current battery capacity and everything right now. So we do use some 30-inch gas Toros on those days to help us out. But other than that, that's Green Team Denver. And we're just excited for what's to come and where the industry is headed.
That's awesome, man. I'm curious, you know, in Denver with the elevation, does that change how the gas-powered mowers run? I know we rented a car one time in Denver and it didn't run very well.
I mean, I know personally, especially with the small engines, we've had better luck with running ethanol-free. But I have a feeling that may be just with all small engines, but I could be wrong. Dan?
Yeah, little small engines mostly, yeah. But I think a lot of them, you got thinner air out there. So normally natural aspirated ones have a little trouble. If you're trying to go uphill or you're trying to floor it, you have to run some better engine, bigger motors or whatever.
I would say that would be more so in the mountains, though. I mean, you know, here in Denver, we're at a mile high, and I don't really see any of that issues like on a regular basis with any gas engines.
Got it.
We're not teaching anyone any of that stuff anyway. That's all. That and throwing up are going to be cut out. We're not teaching any of that on this.
Oh yeah, I forgot to ask what this podcast is rated.
For mature.
No, come on. We're going to get some people.
All right. So before we kick off this next question, I got one quick question for Ronnie, and that is, Ronnie, how many feet is 1 mile?
21.
Anybody else care to take a shot at that? 1 mile. How many feet?
1 mile. It's like 38.
5,128.
Oh my God.
That
Don't
was
gotta be
38.
kidding me. You guys don't know this.
Ooh, Sean was close.
5,280 feet.
5,280.
Cue the Remember the Titans line, right?
Yeah, 5,280 feet. 1 mile.
How many feet in a mile? You will run every one of these.
Jake, am I right? Is it 5,280
Yes.
feet? Thank you.
It's all over all the t-shirts out here.
Being almost 50 years old has its advantages. Let me tell you.
I think I was close enough.
You were close. I think you said 20. Hey, Dan, you've been at this for a while, man. I've learned a lot from you. You're kind of my idol in this business. And I'm curious, man. So, and I want to go around the room and ask everybody's questions about this. I'd love to hear about when you learned that starting a business, first of all, I know you guys were gas powered, but transitioning over to electric, when did you finally learn that it was a whole hell of a lot harder than you thought it was going to be?
For us, I think, well, thank you. That was nice of you. But for us, I think once we realized that when you're cutting thick bahia, that like you started, with our mean green that we have, stalker, we noticed that difficulty of trying to cut bahia at a single pass, a double pass. And then sometimes on some properties, you would have to go triple pass and just to get those little stalks, the seedings to get cut off. And that was when you were like, this is crazy. How can we make it better? That's when you're like, that's a little bit more difficult than we thought.
My thing was when we spoke to the godfather of all electric lawn care companies, Michael Quiet Lawn, he came down here and we had a breakfast with him. We were getting to that time where we wanted to buy another truck, another trailer, and get a second crew in there. Scalability on the electric side, well, the system we were running before made it kind of difficult. That's when I was like, wait, hold up. This is going to be a little difficult, like running a gas company, because doing it once was hard. Doing it twice or 3 times, trying to, everyone knows here, I'm assuming if you're in the side of the industry, you know how expensive these mowers are, especially the one we bought initially was a mean green. To buy 2 or 3 because I need to scale my business, it's very difficult. It's not easy to do. There's not really options out there right now. So it's not like we can just pick from, there multiple companies. So I think for me, that was a kind of a turning point. I was like, okay, hold up. This is getting a little difficult. I was already used to the bahia. I've been working this for so long. So I kind of, no matter what kind of mower you got on there, the Cub Cadets, Toros, the Graveleys, everyone will say that their mower is the best, but you put it against bahia, you still have the double pass no matter what.
Yeah, we don't have bahia here in Dallas. We've got the zoysia, the emerald zoysia. I mean, we see some Kentucky blue, but it's primarily St. Augustine grass. I think that down here with electric, the zoysia seems to be the toughest grass that we have to cut. Rarely do we find the Bermuda lawns. I was looking at, when we were talking, I was looking at this bahia grass, and it looks pretty gnarly, man. I mean, it's a double cut kind of thing.
Yeah.
Maybe some of you guys do like the push mowing, and it might work for some areas. No, say Augustine would work, but push mowing bahia lawns be a little difficult because I would say majority of the time you're going to have to double pass because you even double pass with the actual mower. So not saying that push mowers aren't there, but they're just not there for the bahia for how it is down here, especially in the summer months. It's growing like 6 to 8 inches easily every time you go weekly cuts. It's like, it looks overgrown.
Yep.
Yeah, it looks bad.
Yeah, so you're cutting off like that much of the grass every time.
Really?
You're coming out there. Hey,
What height are you guys cutting that at?
so it depends on the property, but most of the time we try to cut it up above 3, and then we'll go all the way up to 3.5, depending on how thick the property is.
Okay. If it's a winter season going to fall, like now, during the summer, we'll kind of keep it low, like 3.5, because if we pick it up, it'll be, it'll overgrow so fast. One weekend where it rained and it's screwed. We have to do a double cut, triple cut to clean it up. And then as we get to the fall, like right now, I spoke to Joel, was the other gentleman we work with, told him to start raising up the bahia a little bit, add another 1/4 inch to it slowly per week, because during that fall, winter time, we want to get to a full 4 inches. That way when everyone else's lawns, everyone else that's not really, going through the motions, it's going to be very dormant, very dry. They won't have the full look. Ours will be 4 inches tall and it'll be green in the winter, which is not usual, but it'll still be green.
Mm-hmm. Jarmar, you don't have anything other than St. Augustine in Houston, is that right? Maybe some occasional Bermuda, but growing up there, I can't ever remember seeing anything other than St. Augustine.
Yeah, we deal primarily with St. Augustine here. We do have Zoysia. That's the new thing. And all the new developments that on the outskirts of Houston, they're all going to Bermuda now. And so that's the new craze. So the past probably about 3 to 5 years, everybody's putting Bermuda down. But I knew from the jump that it was going to be a little bit difficult. When I first realized it was going to be difficult is when I started changing my routes based on how much battery I had.
Battery management.
Yeah, everybody talked about like route efficiency and density and all this other type of stuff. And I was putting people on a map based on how many batteries this particular yard would use. And so that's how I would do my routing. And then it got to a point where I was solo and batteries are so expensive that like I would literally have to go home in the middle of the day, like for 2 hours, charge up stuff, try to eat. I'm sitting there watching the batteries charge and I get back out and trying to go back out before the sun goes down.
Yeah.
And so that's when I knew this is going to be a lot harder than I thought, especially I didn't mention earlier about my firefighter paramedic for the city. And I would come off a 24-hour shift, and I got to get started early because I got to get back for that 2-3 hour break to charge my batteries in the middle of the day. So I was going off with no sleep and then getting after it. Of course, it's Houston. We just bragging they out cooling down at 80 degrees here at 9 o'clock. So that was the other difficult part too, realizing that. And so, and that was last summer when I knew it was like, I'm not going to be doing this solo. I'm not doing this by myself. We're going to build us a business and see if we can make something happen.
Yeah, I think that's something that we all struggled with in the beginning was not having enough batteries, not knowing. You think you got enough batteries because you get a big stack of batteries or like a crate of batteries and you're like, oh yeah, it's taking me all day long. And then you get out there and you're like, oh, wait a second. I got to go back home, get lunch, charge batteries, come back out. That's kind of like that turning point, where it's like,
right.
What do I really want to do? Should I go out and just buy a gas powered mower or am I going to accept the challenge to rise to the occasion and find a solution? And it's just kind of the guy I am. So that's cool, man. I'm glad to hear that. Sandy, you still with us over there, buddy?
Yes, sir. What was the question once again for me?
So we want to hear about your challenges, man. We want to hear about when you decided that this job is a pain in the ass.
Well, for me, it started almost immediately, being that I was the only company offering, battery powered or electric services in South Carolina. So as you can imagine, people don't really give a shit about that. They just literally want their grass cut, maintained. And in addition, I wanted to, make sure I stayed within a certain per man hour rate, which was pretty much above the rest. So I got a lot of no's pretty much right off the gate, but I took it as a challenge and, still had some success. And, it took about a year before my actual clients were able to say, hey, you know what? We really appreciate the work that you're doing. And something else? It's awesome that I never know when you're here because I can't hear anything compared to my other lawn guy. I'm like, it's so funny because that's what I've sold you on from the beginning. And it's now that you're just realizing it. It's like, I tried to tell you that I wanted to get a project done and I didn't even know you were here. So it's pretty cool to hear that after the fact. But yeah, that's when I figured I was going to be a pain because, the barrier to entry for, battery powered is a lot higher than it would be for traditional gas. So it was instant.
Yeah. William, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing wonderful, thank you. I would say there's kind of two things that, right, was the wonderful Mike Tyson quote, right? Everyone's got a plan till they get punched in the mouth. I'm sure we all had that. You talked about it, trying to decide the batteries, and that's your first test. Are you really committing to this, right? Is this something you're doing to try to make money? Well, obviously we all want to run profitable businesses. And I think regardless of what you're using, right? If we've got folks, obviously all of us using electric equipment or folks found us and listening to this thinking to maybe make that change, right? It's running a profitable business first and foremost. But I would say for us in terms of running the electric side and when we realized it was going to be hard, and I actually had a good talk with one of the folks down at Elevate, one of the vendors that was down there. it's really changed, especially for us. And Jarmar, you kind of talked about this. It's fleet management. It's battery management. It's charging management and making sure that the systems are going to be running, right? A lot of people with their Teslas and their cars, it was range anxiety. It's a similar thing when it comes to cutting the grass. But you're not going to have range anxiety in terms of your car running out, you're stuck on the side of the highway. It's having to take 2 hours in the middle of the day that's not profitable, that's cutting into your business.
Yeah.
God forbid you've got another person working with you, or you've got 2 crews out there and they have to make that stop. So being able to know your numbers, to find the right efficiency for what you're serving, do so in a way that financially makes sense, where we'd all love to go have $30,000, $50,000 mowers, $30,000 mowers, the tax credits and all that to come back. Just because you can go do that doesn't mean that that's profitable for you. Just because what it costs you to cut a lawn versus your neighbors and what that looks like. So big, long way to say, for us, it was fleet, if we call it fleet management, right? Battery charging on the go, at home, making sure they're good to go, and making sure that you go out the next morning and you're ready to go, because you can't stop in the middle of the day at the gas station, fill up, and you're back to work in 5 minutes. But there's a lot of benefits in terms of downtime and maintenance, and I'm sure in all of our other pods we'll get to it, but we definitely got punched in the face as we're trying to figure out how we're going to be charged fully throughout the day.
Yeah. I think we all got punched in the face. Dan, I see you over there smiling, man. I mean, you're just like, yeah, I've been punched in the face before. Sean, man, we hadn't heard from you.
Speaking of getting punched in the face, as far as the business side of things, my whole plan was to take the first couple of days of the season last year, get in one-on-one with a new hire and basically have them run the route, while my plan was to still run my sales job full-time last year. And I had gotten way out in front of it. I did a whole bunch of interviews all through the off season. And I found this guy that, I thought was going to be a fantastic fit for the company. That, we went through multiple screenings, background checks, interviews, and everything looked good. And I was ready to go. Showed up the first day, and I'm waiting at the garage, and, I got there at 7:15, 7:30. Texted, called, nothing.
Yeah.
7:45. I don't think he's showing up. I never heard from him, saw him again. And this was supposed to be my first of 3 days for that week with the client buildup that we had at the time to train this guy. And then I'm supposed to go back to work. So I called my boss and I was like, hey, that thing I started up kind of just screwing around on the side? Yeah, I'm treading water. I don't know what the hell to do. So I'm going to be mowing lawns for a little while. We're going to have to figure this out. And so that was the start. I ended up getting 2 guys last year that was just absolutely incredible. They were both Marines. They served their term and they got out, going back to civilian life, and wanted to just kind of a break before they really dove back into things, and just wanted to be outside in nature and not have bombs going off around them. And those guys were absolutely incredible. I blame them every day for thinking that I could go ahead and go full time with no problems, because they made me forget about the first guy that I hired. They were just awesome, just absolute troopers. I told them, if anything goes wrong, you guys any issues, just let me know. Just let me know how it goes. And they're like, dude, I don't care if we get shot out here. We're finishing this day.
Yeah.
Once I got those guys in, it was absolutely phenomenal. But, they both moved on to some different things this year. And so we kind of started that cycle over again. And I forgot how difficult it is to find good people.
Yeah. So Jake, did you chime in there, my friend? Did you tell us about when?
No, not yet. No. But I was just going to say, man, I just feel like you guys are reading my diary, because I don't even know what to add here, because you guys hit on everything. I guess the only thing that I would maybe add is, for me, actually, especially as of recently, because my electrical went out in my garage, charging overnight has been kind of the biggest pain in the ass.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of a procrastinator. I don't want to bring in the batteries first thing when I get home from work. I want to go kick off my shoes and play with the dog. So typically at 9 o'clock at night, I'm logging out to the trailer and bringing in these freaking 100-pound crates of batteries into my house, because my garage electrical is out, and charging them on the kitchen counter, in the living room, in the hallway, everywhere. And I mean, thank you to my wife. She's a damn saint, because these Ego battery chargers are sitting next to the toaster.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that's my biggest pain in the ass right now. But again, you know, that's kind of when I realized it too. I was like, oh my God, this charge thing isn't a one-time thing. I got to do this every day, sometimes multiple times a day.
Really?
So
Yeah.
But other than that,
Well-
you guys are reading my diary.
I love it. And is your wife in there charging batteries right now as we speak? Is that what's
I wish. She's at a run club right now, but I got to train her to do that. But she's a doctor, so she's got no time for that.
Yeah. Yeah, she's like, charge your own batteries. Like,
Exactly. I'm an independent woman.
a lot of the reason we're here is we're going to dig into some of these on-the-go charging solutions. That's what all of us are into. That's what I've learned so much from Dan over the last year about how to build these setups, and 12-volt, 24-volt setups, 48-volt. We ended up going with this 12-volt setup. And of course, Dan said, why are you going 12-volt, man? You should go 48-volt. And I'm like, well, gosh, darn, I already spent the money on it. But I think that's the problem that we all face in what we're doing is this continuously keeping batteries just charged throughout the day. So we're not coming home like Jarmar's talking about at lunchtime to, you know, take a 2-hour lunch and charge some batteries up, or what Jake's going through. It's exciting, man. I'm excited about the things we're doing.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm curious. So I want to ask you guys. I mean, we got into this business maybe about 4 years ago, and we cut our teeth on this business we signed up for being a provider on the Lawn Starter. If you guys haven't heard of that before, it's like one of those on-demand lawn service programs. It's kind of like Uber for lawn care. And then, you know, these people would put in a request to get their lawn mowed, and we signed up as a provider in that network. So we would get a call and we'd go out and cut a lawn. And that's kind of how we got maybe our first 10 clients. And then eventually we built up our business to a point where we could kind of break away from Lawn Starter and do our own thing while we were working on our branding and stuff. So I'm curious, and I'd love to hear from you guys how you got your first 10 clients. I know we all did something different. You heard what we did. So, you know, Sean, maybe in Maryland, how'd you get your first 10 clients, man? What did you do to bring in those first 10 clients?
That's a great question. So a little background. I've always wanted to start a company. I'm all about it. I'm very risk tolerant. But at the same time, my wife is really balances me out. She is absolutely risk averse. And I've always been very open with her that I wanted to start a company from the very beginning. When we first started dating, it's never been a secret. This is where I wanted to go. But at the same time, I've got to be very conscious about if I'm going to bring something up and dive into something, I got to make sure she's on board with it. And so when I first approached her coming from, you know, I told you earlier in the episode here, I switched from finance to the beer industry. It was already one big industry change. Try to tell her now I want to switch again and go into lawn care. I had to have my stuff together. And so, you know, we basically talked about it at the end of the season in 2020 when I officially formed the business. And we kind of came to an agreement. I've got to have a certain number of customers by January 1st of 2021 if I want to be able to invest in the equipment that I need. You know, I went out, started branding, worked with a designer, built some logos and some design pieces, flyers, and I was going around door to door in the middle of the pandemic. And man, I've never had more people not want to talk to me in my life. I come from a sales background, and so I have no problem going into a strange environment, somebody that doesn't want to talk to me, but I've never had more doors slammed in my face. Door to door in November and December in Maryland, trying to talk to people about mowing their lawn come April. It was a tough sell.
Hey.
But I remember very clearly the first customer I ever got. I went out the first day that I was supposed to be handing out these flyers. I had a phone number set up and I did a test call that morning before I left my house, and the damn number wasn't working. The number that I've got printed all over hundreds of dollars of flyers I just got ordered. It's not going through.
Oh, no. That's tough, man.
No matter how bad they want my service, they can't contact me. So I'm out handing out these flyers in the middle of the pandemic, getting doors slammed in my face with my phone number on it that doesn't even work.
Oh,
And so I'm walking door to door in between every call. I'm on the phone with customer support for the company that's supposed to be running my phone number. About halfway through the day, we finally got it worked out. I'm just hoping that these people don't walk outside until I get it worked out. And I remember going by this one house, dropping it on, and I'm 8 hours into handing out flyers. I haven't gotten a single call. And I have practiced what I'm going to say when I get this phone call for days leading up to this. You know, I've got a whole script laid out, ready to go. And this lady calls me, hello? And I just, she said, hello, is this Luminary Lawns? Oh, yeah. Oh, you just put a flyer on my door. Oh, okay. And then we, went right into, finally got into the sales pitch and signed her up. And she's been my number one customer ever since. And, but yeah, I mean, it was just pounding pavement going on. And it's not just the flyers, it's actually knocking on doors. And it's amazing how much higher the conversion rate is if you can actually even if it's just 30 seconds of FaceTime at the door.
yeah.
Versus just them finding a flyer on their doorstep when they get home. That was it. Just spent months trying to get the first 10. And that was enough to convince my wife that we had something going on. And, from there, started going into online marketing and a variety of other options to expand the business to where we are now.
That's such a piece of gold that you just said there, Sean, making that connection rather than, I'm sure you guys see it on your customers' doors all the time, just, them walking around dropping flyers. But, that's what everybody does. Nobody wants to actually talk to people, take the time. And it's so worth it, like you said.
It is so worth it. You mentioned you worked on your sales pitch. What was your sales pitch? Let's hear it.
Cleaner, quieter, and safer. Those are the three pillars that we stand on. There's a variety of different studies out there you can look at these days to see how much cleaner the electric is than the gas. I think it's running a backpack blower for an hour is equal to like driving a Corolla or a Camry for like 11 hours, something like that. So, we're definitely environmentally cleaner, quieter for any reason. If you're working at home because of all the changes in the work landscape the past couple of years with the pandemic. If you're a first responder, Jamar, I'm sure you got firsthand experience with that. My wife is a nurse, and so, she works night shifts sometimes. We had crews coming in. They'd show up in the morning running noisy gas equipment and wake her up when she's trying to sleep. Young kids, we had the babies. And so the quieter piece of it, we really play that up a lot. And then on the safer side of it, we're really big on fertilization. And so using all organic fertilizers. We don't use any pesticides currently. We are looking into getting into that, but definitely want to stay on the organic side.
Yeah. I appreciate all of your experience in fertilizing. And, we kind of just use a turnkey product. We use a HOU actinide, which is a 600. Yeah, we use a lot of Milorganite, just kind of the organic products. But, with the interaction we've had and what I learned from you listening to, you're mixing up potash and, just a variety of things. It's pretty cool, man. And I'm glad we met because of that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Jarmar, I'm curious, man. You're in my home state. You're here in Texas. You're in Houston, kind of my hometown guy. You got rolling, a couple years ago. You've got a fantastic setup, man. I really like what you've got going on down there. And if you're like me, we started with that lawn starter program. You got Sean that's over there just beating on doors. What did you guys do to bring in your first 10 clients?
Oh, man. My first actual real paying clients for mowing actually came from Nextdoor, the little Nextdoor app.
Yeah.
And I remember my first client, they asked, does anybody know a lawn company that can get my house back to yard of the month? And there's a lot of people throwing people's, name in the hat. And I was like, I don't know if it's tacky or not, but hit me up. We're just starting something special, something different. And then they called me and they loved what we were standing for. They loved the idea. And they were my first official paying customer, credit card on file. And, got there and my very first time mowing their grass, I took the weed eater and a pebble and I sent it right through their French doors and broke it.
No.
And that was my very first paying customer.
Oh.
But they were cool about it because, I didn't run from it. But that was my first customer. And then, it was kind of word of mouth from there. I think the way I handled that adversity really impressed them. I didn't tuck and run, but I was like, hey, man, you got to come out and see this. And slapped them to the first door. I was like, I'll pay for it.
Oh.
But it took me the whole year to get that money back. He basically got free mowing for the whole year.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my basic strategy, man. I just got on next door and people would ask for a lawn guy and I would chime in and other people start chiming in. And people would ask questions about lawn care or what they should be doing or how often they should water. And I was just in the community on next door, just answering questions like a neighbor.
Yes.
Right. And then it was one year we had really bad sod worms that was eating up everybody's lawn. And people were looking for ways to treat it. And they were using the chemical ways. But, we do everything organic. Just like my brother, we had Luminary. And so I was like, well, here's a cocktail you can put up and it'll knock them out. It'll even help your grass. It'll grow back and you'll start the recovery process. And I was just teaching people how to do that. And then there was a ton of people who was like, well, can you come do that for me? And I was like, no, just go to Home Depot. Just go pick this up. And they're like, no, I want you to do that. And I was like, yeah, it's going to cost you like $150. But anyway, so like 30 people called me to go do that. And then a handful of them turned into lawn customers. And after that, like I said, at the beginning, it was just me. And so I didn't do any more marketing. I put my deal up on Google, but I ended up pulling it back off because I just kept getting too many calls.
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah. I was listening to the forums on Facebook with the lawn care guys talking about what don't work, don't do this, don't hire people, work for yourself. Employees are terrible. I didn't know because I'm new to the industry. So I was like, well, I'll just keep it solo and I'll just keep servicing these few people I had as well. And that's how I got my first 10, just using Nextdoor and the Nextdoor app, searching for people looking for lawn care.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, that Nextdoor app it is invaluable. I mean, it is incredibly useful for us down here. And when you get into, I think if you get like 20 reviews through Nextdoor, you can become like a Nextdoor preferred partner, preferred vendor. So they're like giving you some free advertising dollars, things like that. But cool angle, because you're not coming in on the Nextdoor thing with just selling. Obviously, with Nextdoor, you kind of got to be tactical about, how you're selling your services, but coming into it as a consultant where you're offering the advice that you have. People appreciate that, man. And that does, you're absolutely right. That does help the phone ring. We get a tremendous amount of customers through Nextdoor. And cool story, man. Thanks for sharing. Dan, Ronnie, you guys got your first customers back, in the dinosaur ages of electric lawn. You guys were using NiCad batteries. I know about it. Yeah, the wind-up ones, the little bit. Yeah.
Not at all.
Tell us, guys, drop some knowledge on us. Tell us how you guys reeled in those first 10 clients.
So the first 10 clients was Ronnie beating on doors. That's what it was. It was him going out and I think our first customer, he went out. I think he was done a side job with his pops doing some irrigation work. I think he picked up a client there talking to him. And all of a sudden, after that, he went door knocking. And I guess he can talk a little bit more about it, but I think he had the same experience as Sean did.
Yeah. So my first 10 customers, just being on doors, I would 100% agree with Jarmar said. The Nextdoor app helped out a lot. But the first 10 customers are always going to be the hardest customers you get, because once you learn your system, once you learn your sales pitch, once you learn if this is something you want to do, you'll start to gain more confidence. Confidence is key. When you're going out there and talking to everybody, relationships is key. Knowing the right person will get you further than trying to work hard and get to yourself. Once we start going to these doors and start knocking on doors, no one really cares, that you're green. If I'm being honest with you, they just want someone to cut the grass. So that's what it was at first, just someone cutting the grass. But if it wasn't for Nextdoor app, which probably got us from 0 to maybe 30, passing out flyers every day to I can sun up, sundown. Honestly, just grinding it out to this day. If we're missing some kind of money, we need something, I'll grind it out, I'll find it. So if anyone's trying to start it, Just start somewhere, because if you get stuck in analysis, you're never going to get started. You never get the first 10, because the first 10 is the worst. From there, it's snowball effect. It just goes faster and faster. You start learning the ads, you start getting word of mouth, you start going just friends and family, and just never stops. And then you start to grow something that you never thought you'd be able to handle, but you're doing it then.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. William, let's hear from you.
Yeah, so first 10 customers actually came at a recommendation I had from you via Nextdoor.
Oh my God.
So you and I talked before we got this thing started. That's a fun story for the group. I was researching it, stumbled across EcoMow down in Dallas, sent an email, even a great way to connect with other people. And I knew it would be a way to grab attention, and said, Ronnie, just like you complimented, you must be killing it. Will you give me 30 minutes of your time? And we were on the phone for almost 2 hours. I had a list of questions to go and everything, and you were very gracious with that time. So once we had that, once we figured out some of our numbers, once we had the belief that we were doing this thing, for us, it was Nextdoor and neighborhood groups. So very tight community here in Olney, Maryland. I grew up here, recently moved back with my kids to raise my kids here. And so we were members in not just the yard sailing groups, but the community groups. And a lot of the community groups, similar to Nextdoor, questions on the lawn, what they're going to do. They have a posting Thursday, every Thursday, that they allow self-promotion. So you can't any other days, but we took advantage of that, and we kind of nailed what our pitch was going to be each Thursday in the community to build that up. So a combination of Nextdoor and local Facebook groups and being involved there is what got us to our first 10. But that definitely is a nod to what worked for my friends over there at EcoMow, and we 100% copied it. But what do they say? Imitation is the best form of flattery. And I'm not ashamed to admit that I took the advice right from you, and that's exactly what we did.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, we're all learning from each other, right? So, Sandy, hey, let's hear from you, man. How's things in Tampa? First, you guys had a hurricane. So, first of all, is everybody okay over there?
Yeah, everyone's good. A little further south, like Fort Myers and those folks, they got hit a lot harder. So we kind of scathed. I had a window that broke and was, pouring water all day, but that was the worst that happened. So I can count myself lucky, I guess, with the damage that we just get. But, as far as my first 10, again, since I'm just starting back up here in Tampa, I'll use my experience back from South Carolina. So a lot of what I learned from all of you guys, listening to other podcasts and whatnot, I heavily relied on Nextdoor. And the reason I picked Nextdoor is because that was what was working. That was where people's attention was in that community where I was working. Because I did the Facebook and, didn't get too much traction for that. So, but I did see that the activity was pretty high on Nextdoor. People were posting, asking for recommendations for different things. My wife and I had joined in for our own personal neighborhood. So just kind of seeing that it was always buzzing, we decided to, run some advertisement, via Nextdoor. And it was at a time where it was actually affordable, because now it's kind of ridiculous. But, got my first 10 from there. And, I kind of stuck with, making sure that I asked for ratings on Nextdoor. So I did, start to get some traction on that and get some good ratings. And pretty much every time I did an advertisement, I would get solid leads from there with pretty good conversion rates. So I got almost all of my clients in South Carolina from Nextdoor.
I'm curious, I know you just moved from South Carolina down to Tampa. So how have you adapted your approach for your first 10 clients in your new location?
Yeah. So, and it's funny that you asked the question, because for me, that's really something that's been quite interesting. I see it as this time around, I'm going to be able to be laser focused on the goal. And, comment that, Ronnie made earlier is, knowing your market, knowing what you want to focus on, whether you need a 48-inch mower or a mower. I currently have and used a 40-inch Greenworks commercial stand-on, and that mower is no longer going to work for me. The properties that I am focused on, I can't even fit it in through the gates from an average household here. Most of these gates are within 3 feet, while some of them are even smaller. So, 30 inches and under is going to be the goal. So it's one of those things where now I have to completely change my outlook on the current equipment that I have, and kind of going back down to, smaller and push mowing and things of that nature. So I'm going to have to sell the 48. But as far as focusing the clients that I am going after, I got this from the Florida Turf Pros. He posted a video a few years ago on how he created a postcard specifically showing his family in the picture and doing that. And so I'm going to be kind of taking that from the book and just kind of sharing it here in my community just so that I can kind of start to get additional traction. But right now, the door-to-door piece is working. Everyone on my street is literally just either recently closed or going to close. So that's also pretty much striking while the iron is hot. You know, those folks, half of them are not natives, so they don't know anyone around town, so they're always looking for someone. So I've gotten a couple like that already. So that's what my focus and continuation of getting some additional clients.
All right, gang. Well, so we're out of time tonight. So I appreciate all you guys showing up tonight. I guess we'll all talk amongst ourselves about what we're going to look at next week. But I know that we got a laundry list of things we're going to chat about. So in closing, thanks again to all you gentlemen. You boys have a good night.
Thanks for listening to Electric Lawn Talk. Don't miss the next episode. Be sure to subscribe, and while you're at it, help spread the word by leaving a rating and review.